So I had a chat with a couple of students in the past couple of weeks, and a lot of them have been telling me that they fear that it's going to be a lot more difficult to network during the COVID-19 pandemic. They fear that because they don't have the same networking opportunities compared to if they were still in person at school. They might lose out on potential job opportunities, but as they kind of tell me these fears, I kind of wonder to myself, is networking really that much harder during COVID? Because I actually think it's not. And I have 7 reasons why. So the first is networking before wasn't always face to face. I remember when I was a student, a lot of my networks was trying to cold call people or message people on LinkedIn to see whether or not they were able to answer a few of my questions or if they were interested to come up for a chat. So a lot of those connections that you make, the first step was on social media, so that in-person factor was never a thing. And then my second point is that connections don't always come from having to go to a networking event in person. I think a lot of these connections are meeting people. That might be the first step, and again, it could be replaced easily via a quick message on social media, but those long-lasting connections comes from a sustainment of communication. You need to build rapport with these people. You need to find that commonality so that you both have a bidirectional share of interest. And again, that comes from just talking to the person, whether it be via email, via messages on social media, or having a quick call or Zoom call, for example. These are all examples on how to sustain that communication. And again, it doesn't have to be in person. And the third thing is, sometimes I wonder, is the pandemic and being having to always work from home, learn from home, is that the real reason behind why you think there's a lack of opportunities, or is it because you don't see your peers going to these virtual events, so you don't feel obligated to go with them too, so you may be a bit more lazy while you're at home as well. So a lot of these networking events are actually becoming virtual. I'm sure there's a lot of different virtual uh, meet and greet sections, et cetera, et cetera. So I think if you're still passionate about finding these networking events, I'm sure you'll find plenty online, and it'll just be on a instead of being at a hotel or a conference room or at school, it would just be on some sort of virtual platform. And another point that I had was this pandemic may actually be good for people who have interview jitters. I used to have a friend who, is an excellent student, is very smart, can bring a lot of solutions to the table, but she was horrible at interviews. She was just so shaky, and that was the reason why she couldn't get a lot of internships, because she just did not perform well during interviews. So if you're one of those people who have interview jitters, being locked down at home and having interviews via a computer might be actually a good thing. Another benefit of having to network while you're working from home is that people are a lot more open to having a 30-minute FaceTime or Teams or Zoom call, for example. And again, it's just a great way to build that communication and rapport with someone new. And I think compared to when I was still working in the office, if someone had, sent me a 30-minute request to have a coffee chat, I might, decline it, because coffee chats never are 30 minutes, and sometimes I can't be away from the office for too long depending on what my work schedule or timelines were at work during that period. But having a 30-minute Zoom call is much easier, in my opinion, because it's much easier to just say bye and just wrap up, or sometimes it's also easier to kind of schedule around to make sure you have maybe just a 10-15 minute buffer. It's just in general a cleaner way to have a discussion with someone, I just feel. And again, I think in this day and age and climate now, I think people are a lot more comfortable accepting these kind of virtual calls with people. And again, I think if you can find those connections on social media, this second step is still a great way to sustain those communication and relationships. And then my last point is that, people are still around, and the only thing is the distance. And instead of saying we want a coffee chat, now say I want a quick call, I want a quick Zoom call, I want a quick Teams call, and people will say yes. I think a lot of this is just really in our mentality that we think, being locked at home has a lot of difficulties, and for sure there are probably difficulties, especially if you don't have good internet access, or if you have other factors that might hinder you on finding and reaching these people. But in general, if you don't have other factors, this is just all in your head. And for sure, if you can kind of get out and kind of make that first step, make that first message on social media, the others will follow. And if you have been trying, and haven't been successful, I would just say, keep trying, and keep just trying again. Sometimes the first time doesn't work out, and maybe the second and third and fourth doesn't work out, but eventually someone will pick you up, and will give you the chance that you deserve. So don't be despaired, and good luck to all who is trying to network and find a job during this time. It is difficult because a lot of jobs have declined, but if you work hard enough and you keep trying and you don't give up, something will come and fall onto your hands. So good luck.